Hey, Nine, I see you. I see you. I'm so glad Lord of the Rings is back. Such a very good show. Where are the froggies? Here's the froggies. Here we go. Pastaroni pizza to the frog people. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. Sip of coffee. I should download some more White Bat stuff. Switch up my playlist a little bit. All right. Hey, good morning. It is Thursday, September 5th, and I am Rob, also known as that developer dad. Hey, what's up, Fry? And I have just posted a thing about what I'm building, and there we go. All right, so yesterday I got I got the AuthorizeView working and all that stuff. And it's actually really, the way we use this thing in our Blazor code is kind of elegant and beautiful. And I'll flip over to my main screen here. And this is what it looks like when we nest things. So obviously everyone should see this no matter who they are in the big header tag at the top. And we can run it. Oh, I also figured out yesterday afternoon while I was tinkering post stream rev how to get rid of that delay while it goes and figures out, well, I know who you are, what do you have access to? And started rearranging my environment variables and renaming things so that I won't run into problems when I deploy to the cloud. Because the way things sit right now, I've got the environment variables named one way, I've got my app settings arranged in a different way. So I installed a NuGet package called, what's it called? dotNet env. And that lets me create a .env file that sits in my project. I'm not going to open it because it's full of trade secrets. And of course, it's been added to my gitignore file down here. But all I do is I put environment variable name equals value, each one on its own line. And the way you set up your environment variables, I'll just do it as a comment in here. So in app settings, we've got like the JSON structure, right? And I can bring this one up because it doesn't have anything sensitive in it. So like, for instance, lm config, and then nested in there, we've got key value pairs for all of these things. So in an environment variable, in a set of environment variables, what you do is you go lm config 2 underscores, and then the setting name equals totally not Skynet 4.0, stuff like that. Now, I got the call out to Microsoft Graph, pulling down the user groups and wrapping those up as role claims. Instead of doing that in a claims transformation service, I instead moved it, not in the configuration, but in the app sec section. And I did quite a lot of tidying up of this code as well yesterday, because just the length of the scroll on this method was making me crazy. I moved the creation of the authorization policies out to an extension method that I created over here in my middleware, which I should probably rename, but I'm not gonna. And then I created another one with just static methods to declare the event handlers for the OIDC events. And inside the onTicket received, it's doing all of this reading and all of that stuff. I basically pulled the code out of the claims transformation class and dropped it in here. And the amount of indent in here is making me rather uncomfortable. So I might, just for readability purposes, pull this if block out into its own static method. Just because this is bonkers. So the object identifier, it's pulling that out of the claims based off of the claim type. If the app roles exist, like that's a custom claim, then we bounce and we return. And then we try to go get the groups from Graph, which is in that iUser access service that I created last week. And then you can see I do that here. And then I create a new collection of claims from whatever comes back in that MS Graph query. If there are any new claims, I add the app roles exist true, and then create a new app identity and add it to the principal's collection of identities. And that happens during login. So just very quickly, I'll stop the app. Oh, I should have just logged out and logged back in again instead of turning it off and on again. So I'll log out, and there we go, and I'll sign in, and I will use I'll use me as if I am just a free user, and here we go. You can step in, goes and gets the things. So we do have a slight delay here, and it does the stuff. And there we go. And I can pop over to user info. And this is where I'd put the use AI button if I had one. Buy it now. So that's great. I'll log out, log back in, get rid of that breakpoint first. And I'll log in as my other testing persona. And away we go. And I got to find, I think there's a way to show some kind of content while it's doing that sort of initial rendering nonsense. And we see only logged in users in the app users group should see this. And hello, paid user. Here's that AI button. Fantastic. So yeah, that's how that all works. So what do I want to do with this? I want to apply it throughout the application. So we've got our middleware. We'll go into our components and layout. Excuse me. Let's hit our nav menu first. We'll start here. And let's see here. Nav scrollable, flex column. All right, create NPC, context user identity name. This is all kind of messy, but this fellow, I'm thinking, rather than main menu items go to features. And main menu. Oh, Rob, come on. Duh. Wrong keystroke combination. And secondary menu should render at end of parent. And secondary menu. And that's just a little bit of help to help me later. So let's see here. Nav class is flex column. Can I see a definition of flex column? Is it going to show me? Probably not. Nope. Okay. So this one, the home button, or the home item, that gets to be visible to everybody. The create NPC is only for people that have a login. And there's no discrimination there. So let's see if that works for us. Now, I've probably still got an auth cookie hanging out in my browser. If I log out, oh, hello there. Excellent. And if I sign back in as me, in my paid user persona, there we go. Good. And I'm probably going to need to put some kind of content up. And I think there's an authorizing state or an authorizing view or authorizing state provider or something like that. And it gives the application some context to work with or something to render while it's authenticating and authorizing, because that is lame. All right, so we're logged in, and let's just go into create. Oh yeah, databases sleeping. We got to wait for that to wake up. And I understand that the Poly library has actually been fully integrated into dotNet 8 Rev, so, or not fully integrated, but the concepts that exist in the Poly library now exist in dotNet 8 under the Microsoft.extensions.resilience optional package. All right. Generate, show. Okay, so down here, this is on the one of my Blazor views. So here's this, pull this out, and in the partials, I believe it's view NPC attributes. And that stuff is all available. Now, what I should probably do right up front is is it authorize? Nope. There's a tag you can put on the page. And let's see here. Blazor page authorize directive. Let's say authorize policy. Not only am I going to wrap the menu item with the authorize thing, I am also going to put it right on the page. Blazor WebAssembly, Blazor Web App with OIDC. That's probably close to what I'm using. Sample app. We're not using the BFF pattern for now. This is something similar to what I'm doing, but it's not exactly the same. Blah, blah, blah. There's the AuthorizeView, cryptographic nuts, app roles for apps. And none of this. I just want to see about the authorization stuff at the page level. Security identity. Content security policy. Cross-site scripting attacks, that'll all have to be added. Blah, 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 blah. Nope. Server. This is all just login stuff. None of that's useful to me right now. Here, let's take a look at program tech. Authorize, runnable components. Here we go. Add attribute, authorize. That's it. At, oh gosh. At attribute authorize, and then I think I say policy equals, nope. Let's not try to do too much at once. One thing at a time. We got to get rid of the anger code. Hit that. And I think yep, I was on the right track. I just hadn't added the reference to the what's it yet. Policy equals, and then I need AuthZ constants dot POL. We don't know what AuthZ constants is yet, so we got to get rid of that anger code. Pop that in there. Paul underscore known users. Oh, shush. And we got to restart the app. And what's the page name attribute on this? Oh, there isn't one. I put this in totally the wrong place. Stop. Stop. All right. This. Oop. Grab that. Paste it here. I don't want to apply that at the component level. What even am I doing? And I gotta grab this. And that. Now I can grab this stuff. Cut it out of there. And that can go as well once I'm done. But I got to apply this stuff over here. I can paste it here. It's going to complain about that. So that's good. I'll come over to here. I don't need the authorization. Oh, I will need the authorization thing, but probably not that one. So we can get rid of that. Pop over here. Save everything. Now, the reason I applied this to the page level is because somebody who knows this route exists but isn't a member of the group that's allowed to see NPCs. So I can come here, right? Now, if I log out and try to go to create NPC, it forces me to try to log in, which is exactly what I want to have happen for now. I may eventually want to say, hey, you're trying to access something that only known members of the site can use. Sign up now, or that kind of thing. So that's working beautifully. Now let's go into create, and I want to make this go away unless the user is one of my paid users. So we can close, well, we're going to leave create NPC here. Do we have any buttons at the bottom? No, we don't. All right. So here we are in view NPC attributes. On create NPC, click. If AI button is handled. So what we're going to do here is AuthorizeView. Clean that up a little bit. And we're going to require a policy equals, get rid of that, and at AuthZ constants. And it's not going to like that until I bring that reference back. Copy that. Paste that. And AuthZ constants dot POL underscore paid. Save. What are you complaining about? Yeah. So stop. Start. Because we're actually changing the flow of the code at this point. So we need to reload. We need to recompile and reload into memory. So here's NPCs. I'm logged in as who? I'm logged in as me. So I absolutely have access to see this. Now, if I log out and come back in as DevDad, go back to the NPCs page, go into create, there is no generate with AI button. And it's better for me. It's kind of crappy for my end user because they might want to be able to save this or eventually add details of their own. So I suppose what we should do is at if save button. Oh, wait. Derp. At if save button is handled. And let's spell it right. And save button doesn't exist yet. But that's okay. Oh, look, we've got this div class row, call 12 button, button primary. Yeah, that ain't going to work, is it? Goodbye. Get rid of all of that extra spacing. Come out here. Bump that out a level. We don't need call 12. Stop. BTN, no. Button. Class equals BTN. BTN primary. Because it's an actual action button. At on click, lowercase c equals on save button, click. Pop out the end, save NPC. Yeah. And now I got to go back into the code behind and refresh my memory. Here's generate AI clicked. Oh, that's right. I'm going to need to add a parameter for this. Public function that takes an NPC client model, returns a task, save NPC underscore clicked, get set, spell client model right. Here's that. And I run down on initialize, selected species, background, location, all that stuff, toggle option panel, set option panel visibility. Public boo. What did I call it? Save button is handled. Save button is handled. Is save NPC clicked is not equal to null. Good. Public void on save button click. I believe that's what I called it. Yeah. Don't be so hasty, Roslyn. I'm just going to paste that right over the top. Oh, man. Rev, I just had a most overwhelming flash of craving to run downstairs and grab a bunch of donuts from Pig Box Donuts. And I am not at the plaza in Vegas, so alas, I cannot. Oof. I gotta get employed again soon, man, because I do not want to miss TMS Vegas next year because I'm an unemployed bum. That trip has been the highlight of the past 12 months for me. Because, yeah, we did the cruise in the fall, like the D&D cruise, and it looked really cool on paper. But it was, it did not live up to expectations, unfortunately. I mean, the staff that put the cruise on did their best. And the cruise line was acting really lame. I won't speak their name. But they have a big barcode on the side of all their ships so they can Scandinavian. That should give you a hint as to who the cruise line was. And it was during hurricane season. And yeah, there was a hurricane. So it kind of screwed up a lot of the planned activities and so on and so forth. And it was just not fun. All right. So we've added a new button to save the skeleton of that NPC. Excuse me. And now we've added the button. We're calling the event handler if it's been provided. So now we need to add that event handler. Excuse me. Here's the NPC list. And I think I probably don't need this stuff. I may be able to clean that up, but I'm not going to Boy Scout that. I am going to get rid of that commented out nonsense. And I'm going to get rid of this commented out nonsense as well. Goodbye. That's the list. Here's this. Yep, this is where I want to handle it. And view NPC attributes. What's the event called again? My goodness. No, I need the C# file. This is save NPC. Equals, open close quotes. And back at the start of this line, it did not need to go there. Pardon me. And so my page model now requires a save NPC clicked, or a handler to feed to save NPC. On start over, on AI description, on save NPC. Here we go. Yeah, I think I can just do that. So it'll be on save NPC. On save NPC. Yeah, I probably have to save everything. Build, rebuild. I have a suspicion that Roslyn hasn't caught up to us yet. For those of you who are watching and don't know who Roslyn is the name of the runtime C# compiler that Microsoft has built into Visual Studio and makes available in various dotNet projects and products and so on and so forth. So why are you not showing up the way I need you to? I'm just going to run it. Heck with it. Let's go to NPCs. Oh yeah, that blew up. Reload. Oh yeah, this is vomiting all over the place. That's great. Oh yeah, of course. I probably need to restart the whole app. All right, let's see what that error is. See if it actually gives me any logs. I don't need the immediate window. I need my output. Why are these guys stacked like that? That's annoying. You go in here, exception settings, go away. All right, output. Render tree, unhandled exceptions, circuit, yeah, that doesn't help me. Cannot access a disposed object. What was it trying to access? I know what I did wrong. And it's because I forgot a thing. That's why it wasn't lighting up. I bet if I come back out here, oh yeah, it looks normal now. Duh. Now see, there's a feature for GitHub Copilot that I would love to have happen. Hey, look at that. Now, if we come into Create, we've got our Save NPC down here because I'm not logged in as somebody who has the ability to use the AI. Now, this is kind of grody, so what I want to do is come into View NPC Attributes .razor.css, task host header heading, options panel form group, media only screen. Do I define task host footer? No, I do not. So I'm going to do that. Dot task host footer. Before I do that, I want to make sure I'm not assigning properties that don't already exist for the task host footer. So task host footer, footer nav. Aha. Okay. So to get that to behave itself, come back over here. I'm just going to close it. Don't save. And I am going to View NPC Attributes. Run down here. Cut that. Paste. And let's see if it's going to make me actually fully recompile or what. Yeah, I'm probably going to need to recompile. But before I do that, let's go back into Styles, Nav button, Flex 1 Auto, Justify content is space around. Good. I think that's about right. So let's hit Blazor on Wi-Fi. Go to the list, Create. Fantastic. That now uses up the whole space. Now, if I log out, sign back in as a quote-unquote paid user. Granted, all of these identities that I'm logging into are technically paid users because they're me and I'm paying out of pocket for all this stuff. But that is precisely what I wanted to see. Now we've got, that's a little bit bigger boy than this one. And eventually we're going to have a add details. We're definitely going to have an add, give me some, or add details button that brings up an edit view. We're going to have that before we go live. And I got to make that a better looking button. Because this all looks very disjointed. I'm going to do a cosmetics pass. Probably shortly after I get this thing hosted and released to a initial cadre. But what happens when we push save NPC? Off it goes. So all we have is a female dwarf who is a retired barkeep. Here we go, dwarf barkeep retired. View it. All right, and there's nothing to save here. That's on my to-do list, and fantastic. And it occurred to me with my quasi roadmap, implement the permissions policy and apply it to the pages that already exist, and it'll be ready for future pages. And I think I'm about set with that stuff. Back to list. NPC list footer will go here, and that's just going to be a count. I'll probably start thinking about paging this stuff. Let me see here. So home, that will flesh out. NPCs feature, we've got our index, and that is, this really only needs, it doesn't need any changes for authorization. Details also does not need changes for authorization yet. And create has our authorization details. I do want to change generate. And I think that, yeah. So where is that button declared? Options panel. Option choice. Yeah. Uncreate NPC, click generate. Roll those dice. Save. And can I refresh my page? Create? Nah, I probably have to do a recompile. Let's do that. Now I'm wondering how I'm going to delineate or make it so that end users can easily discriminate what buttons are going to consume a portion of their quota. And I don't want to throw up a message box every time they hit a button that's going to use AI quota. I suppose I could put a little info button with a tooltip over here. And I guess for paid users, I can say, I can describe the features and so on and so forth. So I think that needs to go into here, privacy policy, about changes and updates, public, roadmap, and help with sections for paid, unpaid, and guests. There we go. All right. So what did we accomplish this morning? We've got our application now responding to and aware of who is using it and showing and hiding elements in the user interface based off of the authorization policies that we set up yesterday. The next thing we got to do is make sure that any of these views that have to do with showing data that's stored in our storage medium, in this case, our storage medium happens to be SQL Server running in Azure, but I don't have the NPC ID or the user ID stored or held with the object when it's displayed on the UI. And before we can get into editing, we're going to need that. So I think when I come back this afternoon, I'm going to start making sure these IDs are everywhere that we need them to be. The one place that these IDs exist and are being used currently, I believe, is in the definition of each of those view buttons. List item actions, button class, view button. And I think it's just got like that weird little hash on it. Let's take a look at some of these other buttons. B-XABZ1 CPA03. So those hashes are all the same. List item data, NPC name label, NPC list detail, Dragonborn Potter. Yeah, I wonder how it knows which one to view. Hey, I'm sure I could go look at the code and figure it out. It's been a couple of weeks since I've written it. But we now have our UI responding to not only the size of the screen, but who is logged in and who is using it. And that's pretty powerful. I've also got the UI elements broken down and hidden appropriately based on who is logged in and do they have permission to see that particular feature. And the ASP.NET authorization policies, it's relatively new. It's certainly new to me. I became aware of it probably about 4 years ago or so, but I was working in a legacy MVC application at the time, And when that MVC application's security structures got built, the whole concept of authorization policies didn't exist yet. So I didn't really get to start using them until, well, this project. And I gotta say, I really like it as a solution for translating what we know about our users into a local application model, like how that knowledge we have about our users can be mapped to assigning or determining what they can and cannot see within our software. So yeah, that whole policy concept, that's a winner in my book. The AuthorizeView, also a winner. I think it's a really nice, elegant solution for limiting what can be seen where. I quite like that. So what I'm going to do is add a comment just before I end this stream. I do want to document this little AuthorizeView. So I'm going to copy that, paste my comment down here, and policy protected menu items. Policy protected menu items. Very good. And down here, we're all good. And finally, I learned this tip last night to prevent potential catastrophe. Somewhere in your code base, you want to add this comment. And it's just a 2-line comment. Just in case he comes to town. Applies policy authorization policy to the areas needed in the create NPC feature. Commit. And that is that's our morning session. We're getting closer and closer every darn day. I unfortunately cannot push this to Azure yet because I've got a lot of work to do as far as making sure my environment variables are named correctly so that they can get pulled in with configuration when it loads, stuff like that. And I do want to do a review of how my external application dependencies are getting configured when they're being built out and make sure that that's happening in a consistent, sensible manner. Because when I was throwing that stuff together and getting it up to Azure and getting it working, I kind of didn't take my time, and I kind of just it was trial and error, a lot of fool around and find out, okay, well, let's alter it this way and try it, and all right, check in, pull request, wait for the automated push, oh crap, it's still not working, blah, blah, blah. And I'd rather avoid that because it's not a quick process to see it working. I believe I've done my best as far as replicating the structure of the app settings version of the configuration in that .env file that I mentioned earlier in the stream. And so I guess what I need to do next is probably take a snapshot, just a screenshot of my environment variable declarations in Azure before I change them, and then change them. And I'm not a big fan of screen testing, so I'm going to have to come up with a plan for making that stuff happen. Because I do predict that I will have some downtime, but this thing ain't exposed to the public yet, so downtime is fine. I'm not looking forward to the frustration and the trial and error. Is all. So I'm gonna say, have yourselves a good morning. 9 of 12 is headed off on a road trip until late tomorrow night with a friend of hers. So I'm going to go hang with her and have some coffee and chat and so on before she leaves on that road trip. And I will see you all again this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Take care, everybody. Happy coding.